You know those people who become unusually quiet when something hurts them? Not angry, not dramatic, just silent. They say I'm okay while clearly carrying something heavy inside. And from the outside, it can look confusing, cold, distant, uninterested. But psychologically, there's usually something much deeper happening beneath that silence. Because for some people, emotional pain doesn't come out immediately through words. It goes inward first. Their brain starts processing everything privately before they ever speak about it out loud. And most people completely misunderstand that. They assume silence means someone doesn't care, or that they're avoiding the issue. But often, the opposite is true. Sometimes silence happens because the emotions feel too intense to explain in real time. When certain people get emotionally overwhelmed, their nervous system shifts into protection mode. Thoughts become harder to organize, words feel far away. Even simple conversations suddenly feel exhausting. Psychologists often connect this to the brain's stress response. Most people know about fight or flight, but there's another response that gets talked about far less: freeze. Instead of reacting loudly, the mind temporarily slows things down. Not to manipulate anyone, not to be difficult, but to regain emotional stability before saying something they don't fully mean. And honestly, if you relate to this, you probably already know what that feels like. Someone asks, "What's wrong?" And somehow your mind goes completely blank, even though you're feeling everything at once. You want to explain it, but your emotions haven't fully untangled themselves yet. So silence becomes the only thing that feels manageable. And usually, this pattern didn't appear randomly. People aren't born hiding their emotions. Children naturally express pain openly. They cry, they react, they seek comfort immediately. But over time, experiences can teach someone that being emotionally open doesn't always feel safe. Maybe they grew up around criticism. Maybe their feelings were ignored. Maybe vulnerability got dismissed, mocked, or used against them. So eventually, the brain adapts. Instead of expressing pain immediately, it learns to contain it first. Not because the person stopped feeling deeply, but because staying emotionally guarded once felt safer than being fully exposed. And here's the interesting part. While someone may look calm externally, internally, their mind is often extremely active. They replay conversations, analyze tone changes, question what happened, think through consequences, mentally rehearse future conversations. Their silence is rarely empty. In many cases, it's intense emotional processing happening quietly in the background. That's why people who go silent when hurt are often deeply reflective individuals. They don't like reacting impulsively. They want to understand what they actually feel before speaking. Because they know words said during emotional overwhelm can create damage that's difficult to undo later. So instead of exploding emotionally in the moment, they retreat inward temporarily. Not always because they want distance, but because they're trying to prevent things from becoming worse. And ironically, this is usually where misunderstandings begin. The more pressure they feel to explain themselves immediately, the more emotionally overwhelmed they become. Questions start coming faster. Why are you shutting down? Why won't you talk? Say something. But pressure often makes emotionally internal people withdraw even more. What actually helps them open up is emotional safety. Patience, calmness, space to process. Not silence forever, just enough room to understand their own emotions before expressing them clearly. And when they finally do speak, they usually mean every word carefully. Because unlike impulsive reactions, their emotions have already been thought through repeatedly beforehand. And that's something people often fail to notice about quiet individuals. Their words usually carry weight. They're not speaking just to react. They're speaking after reflection. And that's very different. Of course, silence can become unhealthy if someone never communicates at all. Emotions still need expression eventually. Relationships still require honesty and openness. But taking time to process emotions before speaking isn't emotional weakness. For many people, it's how they stay emotionally controlled instead of emotionally destructive. So if you're someone who becomes quiet when hurt, that doesn't automatically mean you're cold, distant, or emotionally unavailable. It may simply mean your mind processes pain more internally than most people expect. And maybe the goal isn't forcing yourself to react faster. Maybe the real goal is learning how to feel safe enough to slowly let people in while still honoring the way your mind naturally processes emotions. Because silence is not always absence. Sometimes, it's someone trying very carefully to hold themselves together.